For more on what has happened thus far at that Ekurhuleni conference, we speak now to political analyst Levy Ndou for the very latest. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Ndou. Let's just first hear from you your thoughts about just what has taken place thus far.
Good evening, Tsepiso. Good evening to the viewers at home. My analysis of the conference is that this was another conference of credentials. It is another conference of slates. And if you look at the events that have unfolded in this conference, since the time and date in which it was supposed to have started, we have actually observed delays which are informed by squabbles, misunderstandings taking place amongst branches and members of the ANC. And this talks to the ANC that is clearly polarized, divided, where you obviously could see that the members of the same party do not trust each other to an extent that they can delay the conference because, of course, they have to focus on issues relating to credentials, because the biggest fear when you have to focus on credentials is whether it's either you're going to win or lose the conference. Credentials, Sepiso, are quite important in a conference because you need to be very sure about who is supposed to be part of the conference and who is not. And you must also avoid a situation where wrong people would end up attending a conference. Equally, this talks to the organizational element, which appears to be lacking in the ANC, especially in arranging or organizing conferences of this nature. Because my expectation has been that when delegates arrive at the conference, everything else should be sorted so that they actually focus on the business of the day. And what has been occupying the space at this conference has been credentials, because the other party would feel aggrieved or because they do not trust the other party. So equally, as it has happened in the Eastern Cape, credentials will occupy the minds of the delegates of the ANC, and other businesses had to take the backstage.
And as you heard, or you may have heard from my colleague there about the 19 quarantined votes, that it is yet unclear whether they'll have an impact on the top 5 that have been elected. As you've also pointed to, not only the Eastern Cape, but we've seen it in countless other ANC conferences, the issue of credentials. And I want to understand the role of the IEC, because while there is a view by some that there were bogus delegates, but that the IEC is there to ensure that questions over rogue elements or people who should not be there, that this is precisely why the IEC is there. It always beats me why the ANC finds itself in this position and you have these delays and still there are questions over vote buying.
Well, I think, remember, Tsepiso, the IEC has got a very simple role to ensure that they run the elections which are free and fair, but with correct people that are supposed to participate in the polls. The ANC, or those that are in the administration of the party, have got a bigger role to play in assisting the IEC by bringing correct people that must come and vote. Now, in a situation where there is manipulation, in a situation where there is bribery, in a situation where there is a buying of votes, you will then have other people complaining that the process has not run fairly, because they will actually be looking at the numbers. Of course, the IEC still has to verify whether the people that are in attendance are the right people, so that when they run elections, they should end up being credible elections. What I think might be the challenge is that the manipulation that appears to be the case and the vote buying would be the cause of all this confusion within the party. Another element that I've also observed is that the membership system in the ANC has to be improved, so that when the ANC goes to conferences, they should be quite very sure about those people that are supposed to be going and those who might not qualify to vote. If you have a situation where you see branches wanting to force their way into the conference, they might be having genuine concerns that they might have been deliberately sidelined because there is rigging of the processes, or they might just feel that they want to be part of the conference, which unfortunately cannot be the case. In conferences, not everybody or every member has to attend, because you only send delegates as branches. But I expect the ANC leadership to be learning out of these processes, so that as they move towards other conferences in other regions and provinces, this should not repeat itself.
Okay.
Because of the ANC seem to be more focused on credentials and slates.
I suppose this is why I was asking that question, Mr. Ndou. Why does it seem that history keeps repeating itself and unnecessarily holding up the process? But let's get on to the more meaty issues. This is the third time that Mzwandile Masina is regional chair of Ekurhuleni. He himself was saying that there are no rules against him being nominated for a third time. He presented a political report. Share your views on how he has done as regional chair, and whether Ekurhuleni is going to benefit from his leadership this third time round, given the fact that he has lost the position of mayor for the ANC.
Well, I think it's important to note that in the previous administration, the city of Ekurhuleni was led by a coalition government, and the leader of that coalition was the ANC, led by Masina. It is the only coalition in the metros that has run smoothly from its term of office, from the first year up to the last year. If we look at what happened in the city of Tshwane, in Johannesburg, and in Nelson Mandela Bay, the city of Ekurhuleni, under the leadership of Masina as the mayor, has actually performed well, and there was political stability in that city. But when you look at the negatives, one would have expected the ANC under Masina to have done better and not to lose the leadership of the coalition in Ekurhuleni. And I think these are some of the issues that have been raised by those who are contesting, that Masina's performance in the ANC has actually led to a coalition that is being governed by the Democratic Alliance and not by the ANC. And I think now that he has been elected for the third time, he has got much bigger responsibilities in his hands. The first responsibility that, in my view, that Masina has to focus on is to bring the ANC together, because the ANC at Ekurhuleni, based on what has happened this weekend, it's clearly divided.
Will he manage to do that, Mr. Ndou? And how will he be able to steer an ANC in opposition, of which he said they're very comfortable to do?
Well, now that he has accepted nomination and is being elected, he should actually devise strategies to ensure that the ANC in that region is actually united. He said it by himself that he wants to ensure that there is unity of the ANC. But beyond that, Masina has to ensure that the branches of the ANC are revived, and the ANC still has to regain the power that it actually had. In my view, he must actually extend his hand to people like Dr. Xhakza and that grouping. The very same group that was chanting outside the conference venue. Masina has a responsibility to extend his hand to those people so that he's able to work together with those people and avoid clear divisions that are there. It might not be an easy task to perform because in the ANC, if you have conferences like this one, where a particular slate has won, you have a group of the wounded and a group of the victors. And bringing these people together becomes a very, very huge project. It will be the opportunity to test the character of Masina in terms of ensuring that the ANC in Ekurhuleni is actually united and it can bring all people together.
Thank you so much for your time and insights. Much appreciated. Political Analyst Levy Ndou. And just a reminder there, the preliminary results showing that Regional Chair of Ekurhuleni re-elected. Provisional results show Mzwandile Masina beating Dr. Xhakza by 163 votes to Xhakza's 151 votes. 19 delegates are still to be confirmed before that results become final.